The Dragon Freeze. Probably one of the sickest, most underrated, and rare freezes that you will find on a YouTube tutorial.
Great Scott.
So this is episode 6 of the bridge series, basically guiding you guys on all the different stuff you can do with a bridge. So before working on the Dragon Freeze, I definitely recommend you guys to check out the other videos because all those other moves will definitely help you out with your dragon. And by the way, I'm not sure if the Dragon Freeze is actually the real name for this. So I'm actually really curious to know what the different names are or how you might call it in your particular region of the world. Anyway, let's dive straight into the steps needed to learn the Dragon Freeze that are demonstrated by one of my students, BBoy Petito from Battle Droid's crew.
This is where the fun begins.
So you definitely need a really good handstand. I'm talking really good, like you should be able to go down into like a plank position and back up. Also, if you want that extreme Dragon Freeze that you definitely want a little bit of bridge, definitely check out my video on bridge. So if you got a decent bridge and you got a decent handstand, let's get straight into this. First thing you want to do is do a handstand and then shift your hips from left to right, kind of slowly getting into the position of the Dragon Freeze. Let's call this a soft Dragon Freeze. And if this works for you, you're already clear on the first step, which is one step closer to that Dragon Freeze. Now keep in mind, this is already very, very difficult for 99% of the planet. If you manage to pull this off, you're already doing a great job, even though I can't really see what you're doing. But anyway.
Great kid, don't get cocky.
Now the next step is probably something you're only gonna learn with your man coach Sambo, which is placing your hands on the floor, then walking to the side and placing your legs on the side of your hands. And from here, pushing yourself up into this dragon position. Now finding that perfect position within a Dragon Freeze is pretty challenging. But after years of teaching and coaching, I kind of noticed that this was the easiest way to teach someone how to find that position. Push yourself up and then let yourself drop back down so you can get at ease and kind of get familiar with this position. If you manage to hold it already by doing it this way, then great. You probably have a really, really good handstand.
Most impressive.
But most people can't manage to hold it straight away from this starting position. So we have to gradually build up strength by lowering our legs into this position from a handstand. The more you practice this, the lower you'll be able to get, the more strength you will develop, and the easier it will start to feel. So at this point, your dragon needs two things. It needs knowledge on where to be and where to position everything, and it needs a lot of arm and shoulder strength, which you develop out of doing a lot of handstand. But now let's take this Dragon Freeze to that next level, which is trying to tuck in your head in between those arms, kind of like an invert. If you never tried invert, definitely check out my tutorial on invert, because to be honest, you really should be able to do a decent invert if you want to try this next level, more advanced Dragon Freeze. Because when tucking that head in, as we're doing right now, we're actually combining the Dragon Freeze with the invert, which kind of makes it an invert Dragon Freeze. So every time you execute it and you try it out, try and go deeper and deeper in those shoulders. And again, if you have a good bridge, you might just actually pull this off pretty easily. But if you don't have a decent bridge, then you probably just want to stick to the non-invert Dragon Freeze, which is mostly executed out of strength. But as you can see, my boy Petito right here has a pretty decent bridge, which gives him the opportunity to really push the limits on this Dragon Freeze, making it look absolutely sick. So yeah, a great reason for you to just practice bridge, so you'll be able to do these things in the future.
Great.
Now once you start to get the feel of this Dragon Freeze, then the next best thing for you to do is to play around with leg positions, because the shapes and the position of the legs can make your freeze look completely different. And if you're a little creative, it will help you display more originality while using that freeze. Also, another golden tip here by your man Coach Sambo is once you master the Dragon Freeze, or any freeze, then it's really important to look for decent ways to get into that freeze, because the way you get into your freeze is the way to truly maximize that freeze. And you gotta admit, that looks pretty sick, right? So yeah, make sure you get those basics right,
that you can all find on my YouTube channel, of course.
Now, quick question for you guys. Which B-boy or B-girl, in your opinion, executed the craziest Dragon Freeze ever? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you love my content and you love the way I teach, definitely check out my website, because you might find an interesting thing or two out there. Because at the end of the day, when you think about it, it's just all about that B-boy shit. Peace.